What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Hope you're doing well, feeling great, and enjoying freedom. It's a great day to have a great day. Today, I wanted to talk about the best time to buy silver. But this also goes for gold, and this usually also goes for stocks as well, and real estate. We're going to get into it, but really quick, just in case you're new, make sure to subscribe for daily videos, subscribe to my second channel for weekly videos, get yourself some DYDSS merchandise to help support the channel. Come and join us in the Precious Metals VIP Club for giveaways, live streams, deal alerts, and a whole lot more. I'm actually going to be going live tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come hang out. And of course, make sure to go and get your 6 free stocks by downloading Webull and funding your account. Everything will be linked in the description. So today is Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. The current spot price of silver as I'm filming the video is $21.78. It's down 31 cents today so far, or down 1.4%. A solid red day for the beautiful white metal. Spot price of gold is $18.54.30. It's down $12.10 today so far, or down 0.65%, a pretty decent red day for the beautiful yellow metal as well. And of course, the gold to silver ratio is in the 84 to 85 to 1 range. But of course, that's as I'm filming the video, not as I'm editing, posting, or as you're watching. So head on down to the comments and let me know the date and time you're viewing the video and what the current spot price is for you. I'm always curious. Alright, so in today's video, I wanted to talk about a couple of different things. I wanted to, for the most part, really laser in on the precious metals, more specifically the silver. And as you can see, we have a nice little selection on display today. We have a 10-ounce bull bar over here, a 10-ounce sunshine bar over here, a 1-ounce Westminster bar, a 1-ounce American flag bar, a 5-ounce sunshine bar. We have some Walking Liberty half dollars, some Washington quarters, some Roosevelt dimes. We have a 5-ounce Aztec calendar round that you can't even see. We have some Queen's Beasts, a Yale and a Greyhound. We have the Creatures of the North, the Kraken and the Werewolf. We have a Maple Leaf, a Kangaroo, a Type 1 Eagle, a Type 2 Eagle, and then of course a nice little pile of gold over there. We have a 1/4-ounce Philharmonic, a 10th-ounce Philharmonic, a 10th-ounce Maple, Eagle, Krugerrand, Britannia, and over here, out of frame, Kookaburra. Nice little display today. But a lot of what I'm going to be saying in this video applies to other areas, other markets as well. The best time to buy, or the best time to stack, or the best time to invest is, I'm not going to give you a specific date or time, but I am going to give you a general idea of when the best time to buy is, just for future reference, because we're going to go through plenty of periods throughout the course of the next couple of years, next couple of decades, where we're going to have some major opportunities in front of us. So, long story short, the best time to buy is usually when most other people think it's the worst time to buy. When people out there, or the public perception, or the general consensus is that now is not a good time to buy, that's usually a pretty strong and accurate indicator that now is absolutely a fantastic time to buy. And I'll give a couple examples throughout the course of this video. The first one I want to give is when I first got started stacking silver. Now, when I first dove into the precious metals, I didn't 100% know exactly what I was doing. I had heard about silver maybe a year or two prior. When I actually decided to pull the trigger, maybe a few weeks beforehand, I was doing extensive research, or as much as I possibly could. I was reading articles, I was watching videos, I was having conversations with different people, and I was just really trying my best to study silver as best I could. And December of 2017 is when I actually pulled the trigger and went after my first piece of silver. And later that month, I ended up getting even more. And then in January, I got even more, January of 2018, and I just kept piling it up as quickly as I possibly could. I wasn't getting a lot at a time, but I was getting it pretty frequently. And what was funny was back then, I was still on YouTube. I wasn't making silver videos because I wasn't stacking silver yet. I was making videos for years before I started stacking silver. And then when I started stacking silver, I started to occasionally make the silver video. I would post a couple of my own videos, then I would post a silver video, and surprise, surprise, the silver videos would do so much better than my other videos. So I started to realize, okay, I'm having more fun making these silver videos, first and foremost. And second, people seem to be enjoying them a whole lot more. So that's when I switched on over to making silver videos every single day. And it was at that point that I started to notice that there were a pretty significant group of people out there who would leave comments on the videos with something negative to say about silver. Now, I'm not acknowledging that for any particular reason. 90% of the comments, probably even 95% of the comments, were positive. They were from people that were also stacking silver or considering stacking silver or just wanted to be a part of the precious metal community. But there was a noticeable amount of people who would go out of their way looking for silver videos to comment on just so they can say things along the lines of,
oh, silver's a bad idea, it's a waste of time, waste of money, waste of space, mark my word, silver's never going to go to $20 an ounce.
And funny enough, I wasn't stacking because I thought silver was going to go to $20 an ounce. I figured that it would in time, but that's not why I was putting my dollars in. I was putting my dollars in to stand a better chance of protecting my dollars, because I don't think keeping your dollars as dollars is really doing any service to the purchasing power. I just figured, I was like, well, it's guaranteed to devalue. Let me put it into something that at least has history of being real, true, honest money, and at the very least stands a chance of storing value or going up in value, as opposed to something that's guaranteed to go down, aka the dollar. But there were a pretty noticeable amount of people that were letting me know every day that it's a bad time to be stacking silver, and that silver was going to be going down, and blah, 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 blah. And this was pretty much a reoccurring theme from 2017 when I started, 2018 my first full year, 2019 my second full year. And during that period of time, silver didn't do anything too extreme. It went from $17 very slowly down to about $13. Then it climbed its way back up to about maybe $18 or $19 by the end of 2019. So it didn't really move all that much over the course of those 2 years. It very slowly dipped, and then it very slowly popped back up. And then in 2020, surprise, surprise, when the entire world got flipped upside down, March of 2020, the whole entire planet, left became right, down became up, red became blue, everything crashed, and silver, for some strange reason, everyone and their brothers decided now was the time to just dive in. They're like,
oh, this is it. The dollar's officially going to zero. There's going to be no more dollars starting next week, and silver's going to go to $1 trillion.
Everybody started diving into silver. Meanwhile, when silver was at an opportunity low in 2017, 2018, 2019, the same people who were letting me know every day that it's a bad time to be stacking silver were all of a sudden now commenting on my videos talking about how they're stacking silver. Now all of a sudden that silver was starting to spike and the premiums were getting cranked up through the roof. Now all of a sudden it was a good time to be stacking silver. And funny enough, in hindsight, 2020, or at least during my silver stacking journey, 2020 was probably the worst year to have been stacking silver for me. Just because the spot price was at its peak, pretty much. Premiums were at an all-time high for me. Remember, I've only been stacking silver for about 4.5 years at this point. Of those 4.5 years, 2020 was the most expensive year. Of course, I stacked silver during that period of time. But one could say that was the most expensive, aka the worst year within my 4.5 years to have been stacking silver. Now, I don't have a problem with the spot price being higher. I don't measure it in dollar bills. I measure it in troy ounces of silver. But the point I'm trying to make is that that's when everybody thought it was the best time to be buying, and they were driving up the premiums. Spot price was just climbing and climbing and climbing. It went to $20 for the first time in years. I didn't expect that to happen. I thought we had several years to go before we touched $20. Not only did it touch 20, but it touched 22, 24, 26, 28. And then in early 2021, it actually touched $30 for a split second. So we were on this steady incline all of 2020 into the very beginning of 2021. And all of a sudden, for some strange reason, I can't think of a single comment that I received during that year from people saying anything negative about silver. They were saying all these negative things about silver when I considered it to be the best time to be stacking silver. I thought it was at an opportunity low, and guess what? It was. And guess what? Like I said, don't remember receiving any negative comments when silver was performing very, very well in 2020 and early 2021. But guess what? When silver started to decline again, when silver pulled back, when there was a correction, when there was a dip, probably the middle of 2021, silver started coming down a little bit. You know what started to happen around that period of time? The naysayers came back. And guess what? I've been seeing a noticeable amount of naysayers as of lately, the last 2 months or so. I've seen more comments from people saying,
silver this, silver that, blah, blah, blah about silver.
I'm starting to see those comments again, which is, to me at least, in my opinion, it might be an indicator that now might be the best time to be stacking silver. If all of a sudden people are starting to say, oh, it's not a good time to be stacking silver. Just something to think about. But guess what? It doesn't just go for silver. It doesn't just go for gold. It goes for other assets as well. And I'm going to come back to the silver and gold in just one moment, but I want to give another example. Remember in 2020, March of 2020, or really the whole middle of 2020, when everything initially crashed, and not only did it crash, but it crashed down and then it stayed down for a prolonged period of time. You remember that? Remember how everything got knocked down 20%, 30%, some even 40%? Major crash. Well, guess what? Certain companies, or a majority of companies within the energy sector, took an even bigger hit during that period of time. There was one in particular that had got knocked down about 60% at the time. 60%. I think it was like 57%. It got smacked down. And I didn't dive into it at the time, because that's still when I was dabbling or researching or trying to understand the best moves to make in the market over there. But fortunately, it took a massive hit and it stayed low for a prolonged period of time. And just as it was hitting the bottom, it's when I decided to pull the trigger. And it's because I had spent quite a bit of time researching it. I remember at the time, I was like, this might be a massive opportunity in front of me, but I'm not going to dive in because I don't 100% know what I'm doing just yet. If I miss the bottom, that's perfectly okay with me, as long as I get a wonderful company at a fair price, as Warren Buffett likes to say. Doesn't have to be a fair company at a wonderful price, as long as I can get a wonderful company at a fair price. And just as it was hitting the bottom is when I came to the conclusion that that's something that I wanted to buy into. So I did, and I continued to, that entire year, at the bottom and as it was starting to climb back up. And I remember sharing my decision with certain people, and 9 out of 10 of them let me know what a bad pick that was. How many people told me that it was a horrible decision, I was going to lose all my money, it's down almost 60%, and it's going to keep falling down, it's going to zero, they're going bankrupt, it's horrible, terrible decision, the worst decision of my life, I'm going to regret it, blah, 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 blah. They even told me, even if you're investing specifically for income, even that's going to get cut. It's a bad decision. It's a waste of money. You made a mistake. Well, guess what? I didn't listen to those people. And it wasn't because I'm stubborn and don't like to be told things that are basically opposite of my opinion, but it's because I was actually researching this company and the industry. I was studying it before I made the decision. And once I dove in, that was simply because I did my own research, I formed my own opinion, I made my own decision based on my conclusion, not theirs. And I kept buying in. Again, this was mid-2020 toward late 2020 and even into 2021. But I really pulled the trigger in mid-2020. And guess what? Fast forward 2 years, up 94.29%. And not only that, not only am I up 94.29% on that one particular decision, but the income that people told me was going to get cut, not only didn't get cut, I got a raise. So, point being is that, generally speaking, the best time to buy is when everyone else seems to be thinking it's a bad time to buy. Now back to silver and gold, and I also wanted to share a quote. There's a famous quote out there that comes from the early 1800s, and it says, "Buy on the sound of cannons, sell on the sound of trumpets." Now what this means, it's supposed to be taken literally. Wartime. Buy on the sound of cannons, or buy at the beginning or during the process of a war, because that's when the entire planet is on like peak uncertainty mode. That's when the largest number of people are fearful and the largest number of people are keeping their cash on hand. They liquidate some of their positions and they hold on to cash just in case. Buy on the sound of cannons, or buy during war and then sell on the sound of trumpets, meaning sell when everybody's celebrating that the war has finally come to an end and people are putting their money back into the markets. That's a famous quote. Buy on the sound of cannons, sell on the sound of trumpets. You know, and not for nothing, but we're actually going through wartime right now. Everything happening with Russia and Ukraine and China and Taiwan on the brink of potentially breaking out into a war. Peak uncertainty right now, and I know for an absolute fact people are taking full advantage of these low prices because the stock market has been seeing far more red than green. So once again, buy on the sound of cannons, sell on the sound of trumpets. Friendly reminder, go and get your 6 free stocks by downloading Webull, funding your account. Refer one friend to get all the way up to 100 free random stocks, and refer 2 friends by the end of the month for either a free share of Starbucks, Apple, or Google. Webull link in the description. Just wanted to share that quote. But now back to the silver and gold. I wanted to basically give an opposite example of what I gave before. How I spent 2017, 2018, 2019 hoarding as much silver as I could possibly get my hands on. I was stacking pretty aggressively. I remember making videos about the silver and gold that I was stacking. I would do unboxings all the time. I remember it had to have been the summer of 2018. I remember making like 4 unboxing videos over the course of like 10 days because I kept going to the coin shop, and in between visits to the coin shop I was ordering silver online, which I try my best not to do anymore. Hashtag support your LCS. If you don't want anybody knowing what LCS stands for, let them know it stands for locally canned soup. T-shirts, hoodies, stickers, and coffee mugs in the DYDSS store. Link in the description. But the other example I wanted to give, pretty much the polar opposite. Like I said, the title of the video and basically the theme of the video is basically the best time to buy is when most people think it's the worst time to buy. Well, the opposite is true as well, usually. The worst time to buy is typically when everybody else is diving in. When people are rallying into something and driving up the price, that's usually a sign to either take your foot off the gas or ease back or move on over to a different asset. Well, guess what? In 2020, that's pretty much what I did, but it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't a strategic play for me. In 2020, when everything initially crashed, At the very beginning, I'm talking about the day we learned about the
2 week to stop the spread,
or whatever it was, which ended up turning into almost 2 years. But when we first learned about this, like, oh, everything in the world is going to shut down for like 2 weeks. When this was brand new information, I didn't know what was actually going to happen. I knew that a lot of people were losing their jobs, many of them temporarily, many of them permanently. I didn't know how my income was going to be affected or impacted or what in the world was going to take place. So I ended up holding on to cash for about 2 months. At the beginning of 2020, well, January and February, I was stacking silver like it was just like everything was normal, because back then it was. But then in March, I stopped. It wasn't because I wanted to. It hurt to stop. I didn't want to stop. I wanted to keep feeding the fire, keep getting more silver, keep getting more gold. But I decided I'm going to put a pause on everything. I'm going to postpone the stack until further notice, hopefully just a short period of time. And it was about 2 months before I picked up my next piece of silver. I went the rest of March, I went all of April, and I probably went the beginning of May. Didn't pick up any silver or gold, or I didn't even invest anything. I was holding on to my cash because I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. I didn't know if my job was going to be taken away. I didn't know if I was going to get laid off. I didn't know what was going to happen. So I wasn't avoiding stacking silver because everybody else was rallying into it. I was avoiding stacking silver just simply because I was hesitant to fork over the cash. I was like, God forbid there's an emergency. I'd rather have the cash on hand than to sell my silver to get the cash. So that was just basically my mindset at the time. But regardless, while I was holding on to cash, while I was not diving into silver, it seemed like everybody else was beginning to. And this is when the premiums first initially got cranked up. This is when the minimum orders on all of these different websites got raised, doubled, some of them tripled. I remember it used to be free shipping if you order $100 worth of silver or gold. Then all of a sudden it turned into not only free shipping, but minimum order $299. So now you couldn't even place a $100 order. You had to place a $300 order just to be allowed to place your order, let alone be eligible for free shipping. So all of a sudden the minimum orders went up, the premiums went up, spot price was going up, and I wasn't stacking. But it had nothing to do with me saying to myself, oh, the worst time to buy is when everybody else thinks it's the best time to buy. It wasn't that. But in hindsight, I kind of realized it was probably not the worst decision to take my foot off the gas for a little bit of time. But meanwhile, by the time we got to May again, I started stacking because I realized, I was like, okay, this isn't nearly as serious as the entire planet made it out to be. I'm going to be perfectly fine. Nothing to worry about. I know a lot of other people are worried. I'm personally completely unconcerned. So I got back in. That's also when I started getting a little bit more aggressive with my investments as well. Like I said before, 94.29% return on just one particular pick. But anyway, with the silver and gold, later that year is when we saw the spot price really start to climb. This was maybe June or July of 2020. This is when we really surpassed the $20 mark for the first time in years. We hit $20, then we hit 22, 24, 26, 28, like I said before, and we just kept building and building and building and building, and all of a sudden, nobody was commenting on the video saying,
oh, silver's going to zero, silver's a waste of time, waste of money, waste of space.
Nobody was saying that anymore. Want to know why? Because silver was making headlines. Silver was breaking records. Silver was being talked about by absolutely everyone. You know how many years had gone by where silver was off the radar and nobody cared about silver? The only people that cared about silver prior to the crash were people that were genuinely interested in silver. I'm telling you, I haven't been stacking for a very long time. It's only been 4.5 years. But for those of you who have been stacking for the amount of time that I've been stacking for or longer, you'll know the stacking community was very, very different prior to the crash than it was after the crash. It's a completely different world at this point. It's so different. Even within the silver and gold stacking community, it's not the same. It's very, very, very different. But funny enough is when everybody was rallying into silver in early to mid 2020, driving up the premiums even more, having those minimum orders on all of these websites continuing to build. Meanwhile, a lot of coin shops, like brick and mortar physical in-person coin shops, were closed down because they were a small or quote unquote non-essential business for whatever reason. I didn't have the ability to support my LCS. I had no choice. I had to be ordering silver online, on eBay or on some of these precious metal dealing websites, whatever the case may be. And I was biting the bullet. I was like, all right, I know the premiums are not what I'm used to. Spot price isn't even what I'm used to. Everything that's going on right now is not what I'm used to. But you know what? My average cost is so unbelievably low, considering I got like 95% of my silver when spot price was between $13 and $16. That's when I got most of my silver. So my average cost was ridiculously low. Premiums back then barely existed. I was paying like maybe $1 or $2 over spot per troy ounce. Times were great. And now here we were in mid 2020. Spot price was in the early to mid 20s. Premiums were like $5-6 over spot per troy ounce. Minimum orders were like $300. People were placing their orders online and they were getting their orders canceled and they had to replace their order, and now all of a sudden spot price was higher and premiums were higher. It was a mess. It was a disaster. Arguably the worst time to have been stacking silver over the last 4.5 years, just because of how sloppy everything was being run and how crazy the premiums had gotten. I don't want to say it was a bad time to be stacking silver, but over the last 4.5 years, that was the peak. AKA what a lot of people would consider to be the worst time to be stacking silver at that time. Again, wasn't a bad time to be stacking silver, but all the numbers that we've seen, spot price, premiums, minimum orders, and how many people were rallying in versus selling off, that was definitely the high point. And people who like to get in at the lowest possible point, the last 4.5 years, one could argue that it was the worst point. And that's when I was still stacking silver. I was still being as consistent as possible with how much silver I was picking up. Unfortunately, I had no choice but to order it online. I didn't really have any other way of acquiring silver back then because my local coin shop was closed. So I was ordering silver online, slowly but surely, once, maybe twice a month. Kind of what I'm doing now, except now I'm able to visit the local coin shop. But I was picking it up pretty slow. I wanted to just let the compound effect do its thing. Small steps in the right direction eventually taking me to where I want to go. I'd pick up a handful of silver every month, sometimes twice a month, and just keep making those contributions to the stack. I knew that spot price was high. I knew that premiums were out of control, but I figured it wasn't really going to cause too much harm considering how much silver I had gotten at a crazy cheap price. So I kept buying in, little by little by little. And I basically came to the conclusion that it doesn't really matter to me all that much what spot price is doing. It doesn't really matter to me too much because I believe it'll all level out, average out, even out over time. I got a whole lot of silver at $13. I got a whole lot of silver at $26. I got a whole lot of silver at $22. I got a whole lot of silver when premiums were $1 over spot. I got a whole lot of silver when premiums were $6 over spot. And right now I'm getting a whole lot of silver when premiums are about $4 over spot. It'll all even out in the long run. And I do believe in silver. I do still have the utmost conviction in silver and also gold, by the way. I do believe it'll all pan out years, decades to come. I'm not in it to make a quick buck. I'm not in it for anything short-term related. I'm in it for, like, my retirement, like way late, like when I'm twice as old as I am today, or 3 times as old as I am today. That's what I'm stacking for. Years, decades to come. I'm not stacking for this week, this month, this year, or this anything like that. I'm not even stacking for this decade. So anyway, those are just some of my thoughts on the best time to buy. Typically, it's when a lot of other people consider it to be the worst time to buy, and usually people think it's the worst time to buy when everybody else is selling off, or when you see a dip, or when you see a decline, or when the numbers fall down pretty low and then they stay low for a prolonged period of time. That's usually the best time to buy in. And it's not just about silver. It also goes for gold. It also goes for stocks. It can also go for real estate. It can also go for different business ideas. It's usually the best time to buy when most other people think it's a bad time to buy. I want you guys to head on down to the comments and let me know anything and everything related to today's video topic. When it comes to silver, when it comes to gold, how long have you been stacking for? Have you noticed all of these ups and downs? Maybe you've been stacking for a year or 2 years. Maybe you've been stacking for 10 years. Maybe you've been stacking for somewhere in between, kind of like myself. Have you noticed a major shift in the way the precious metal community is nowadays versus 2-3 years ago? Do you notice the same change that I do? And of course, when do you consider to be the best time to buy? Whether it's something that you're stacking or whether it's something that you're investing in, what does it mean to you? Head on down to the comments and let me know. If you guys like today's video, please hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, subscribe to my second channel, which is my backup channel for exclusive weekly content. Go and get yourself some DYDSS merchandise to help support the channel in the biggest possible way. T-shirts, hoodies, stickers, coffee mugs in a bunch of different designs. Of course, we have a lot of products that are helping us raise some funds and awareness for different charity organizations, by the way. DYDSS store will be linked in the description. Come and join us in the Precious Metals VIP Club, which is where I do giveaways every single month, live streams multiple times a week. I will be going live tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come hang out. Deal alerts on silver and gold almost every single day. You can watch all of my videos early and commercial free, and every Saturday morning I post a brand new vlog, and there are a ton of other perks as well. VIP Club link in the description. I guarantee you the value exceeds the cost. And of course, last but certainly not least, make sure to go and get your 6 free stocks by downloading Webull and funding your account. Normally it's 2. They bumped it up to 6 for a limited time only, so capitalize on that while you can. You can deposit any amount, even if it's as little as a penny. It still counts, it still works, you still get your free stocks. If you refer just one friend to the app, by June 9th, Webull's going to give you all the way up to 100 free random stocks, which sounds ridiculous, but it's part of their advertising budget. Rather than wasting currency on billboards and TV commercials, they reward their users for helping them build their app with them. Capitalize on that while you can. And if you refer 2 friends to the app, by the end of the month, you have less than 1 week left. They're going to give you either a free share of Starbucks, Apple, or Google. It's completely random. You don't know what you're going to get, but you get what you get and you don't get upset. You're still winning because you're still getting something out of it, so don't pass up on an opportunity. Webull link in the description. Time is running out. If you don't want the stocks, go and get them anyway. They're free. Then just sell them. Congratulations. Now you have the cash to go and get you some silver or maybe some gold if that's what you want. Webull link in the description. And I want you guys to head on down to the comments and let me know once again, what are your thoughts on everything shared in today's video? When it comes to the best time to buy, when do you think the best time to buy is? Do you think it's when everybody else starts rallying into something because you know that that's what's going to drive the price up? Would you consider the best time to buy when things are on the decline? Maybe you're a bigger believer in buying the dip, or buying when prices are low, or buying when most other people think it's not a good buy right now. Again, this goes for silver, this goes for stocks, this goes for pretty much everything. I believe the best time to buy is when most other people think it's the worst time to buy, which is why I like to take advantage of the red days. And of course, what are your thoughts on the quote? Buy on the sound of cannons, sell on the sound of trumpets. Does that make sense to you? Head on down to the comments and let me know anything and everything related to today's video topic. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you tomorrow. Don't you dare stop smiling. Peace.